Hey you, I'm the Queen of Shade. Welcome to the interview. Don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, and hit my Cash App to support your favorite content creator. Now let's get to the interview. Mwah.
I can think about a million reasons why you need to burn in hell. You're a liar and a cheater, a con artist telling tales. Been rejected, disrespected, boy, your abuse never fails. I'm so done, boy, really done, boy, now I'm staying to myself. I'm so stoic. I'm so stoic. I'm so stoic. I'm so stoic.
Salutations. My name is the Queen of Shade, and I want to welcome you to my website. I know you may not fully understand who I am or what I do, but I'm going to take this opportunity to share who I am with you. Well, first of all, I started in the entertainment industry about 20 years ago. I was given an opportunity to voyage to Paris, France, where I pursued a fashion modeling career for 6 months. Unfortunately, that did not go the way that I planned, and I was forced to return to the States, where I had to go back to the drawing board. Since then, I have become an international recording artist, a podcaster, an Instagrammer, a YouTuber, and so much more. But my main push is creating music. But it's not the only thing I do. I've also become a mentor and a social media brand counselor. So as a mentor, I have been able to touch the lives of so many people. It's a paid service. You pay me, and what we do is we talk about your life. I offer guidance. I offer insight. I offer perspective, because that's a gift that I have. I'm two-spirited. I know a lot of you may be looking at me going, what the hell is going on? Well, sweetie, I am both male and female. I was born male. So it will not offend me if you call me he. It will not offend me if you call me she. It will not offend me if you just call me nothing. But most people call me queen. So here I am telling you who I am. So with that, having said that, this page, this website is dedicated to housing all of the different things that I do. It's a lot. I am one of those content creators where I just create. So there's massive amounts of content. You won't get through it all. Trust me, you won't. There are so many different facets to me that for so many years, I didn't know how to explain. And in the last 6 years on Instagram, where I went viral, I have learned and been privileged to not have to explain, to just do every single thing that my little heart desired. That's why I'm in front of you today. So like I said, you may not know me, but trust me, you want to get to know me. The insight that I have been given is uncanny. It's a gift from the divine, and I use it to help so many different people, not just myself. Now, scroll down this page, like I said, and you will find everything. I have merchandise. I have so many things. You will get lost, but you'll enjoy the voyage. So who am I? I'm the Queen of Shade. That's my trademark. I own it. So if anybody's running around talking about they the Queen of Shade, let me know so I can get my lawyers on it. But I am the Queen of Shade, and I am a content creator. Everything I do is about content creation and about making the world just a little better while I'm here. That's what I'm doing. So I welcome you all again to my page and to my planet and to my life. And I ask that you stay with me. I ask that you give me a shot. And I promise that I will deliver, because that's what I know how to do, deliver. And it's going to be a beautiful journey. You're coming into it now, and you're just in time. It's going up from here. We can only go up from here because the basement foundation has been laid. Again, I welcome you to my page. Stay a while and enjoy the content. Salutations, class. This is your fearless leader, the Queen of Shade, coming to you to share some things about my life. You know, I was speaking with the Queen Mother, the Duchess of Slade today, my grandmother. And we were talking about a lot of things. And it triggered me to want to finally tell parts of my story that I have not told, things that happened to me that I have not expressed. I looked at my grandmother and I said, I need to tell that part of my story because it's time for me to heal. I've been holding it for far too long. And now it's time to let it go by giving it to the world so that it inspires someone else to know that they will get through their hard times. I want to start where I feel most comfortable. I entered the church, Pentecostal Kojic Church, at 10 years old. That was not my choice. That choice was made for me by the adults in my life. And I want to say that at 10 years old, I was already extremely effeminate. I had been exhibiting effeminacy since I was about 4 or 5. I knew that I was gay since about 5 because of the way I looked at older men and had crushes on them. And you know what the crazy thing was? My family did too. They saw my behavior toward handsome men that were older than me. They saw how I blushed and got quiet and had crushes on men. And they didn't say anything. Didn't say anything. It was neither support nor denial at that time. But I entered the church at about 10, and I began to be indoctrinated. And during that indoctrination process, the church, the Black church, preached homosexuality is wrong. If you're gay, you're going to burn and go to hell. If you're gay, you're not accepted in the house of God. If you're gay, you're a sinner, you're a backslider, you're wrong. It's okay to be that way, but if you don't practice being gay, if you don't practice living the lifestyle, then God will have mercy on your soul. Now, these are things that many of us Black gays have heard. We've heard this. And I want to say that it has done for me more harm than good. It ruined my life. That sort of brainwashing ruined my life. In my teenage years after puberty, I started to want to be sexually active and experiment with boys. I did. All the straight boys were experimenting with girls. The girls were on birth control and they were experimenting. And I was not allowed or given the opportunity to express my sexuality or experiment with people, boys of the same sex. And some people listen to that and they say, no, that's not right. That's this. Sweetie, we let teenagers pretty much screw. So if straight teenagers can do it, gay ones can too. And we should experiment and learn how to use condoms. And now that we have things like PrEP, if you're experimenting, even as a teenager before you get older in school, you should be on PrEP too. I knew a lot of girls that I loved in my school that were on birth control. It's just apples and oranges. 1 + 1 is 2. 2 + 2 is 4. That's all I'm saying. But I missed out on those abilities to be able to learn how to control my hormones, learn how to control my cravings, learn how to control my want for male attention. It was very difficult. I remember having to constantly rush myself to the bathroom every Sunday in church because, men are stimulated by sight. And I remember after puberty, my church was full of nothing but gorgeous young men. There were women there, but their sons were my age and they were beautiful. And I remember having to rush myself to the restroom to talk down a physical reaction in my body, crying and saying, I don't want this to show. What am I talking about? An erection based on what I saw. Men are sight creatures. I saw attractive men every Sunday. And every Sunday I did this dance with myself, running to the restroom until it went down and then coming back out of the restroom and trying to be in church and focus on other things other than the beauty of the men around me. What made it even worse was that the men around me whom I was fantasizing about and saw as beautiful, they were bullying me. They were bullying me. They were talking about me. And whenever they'd look at each other and then look at me, they'd laugh. It was like an inside joke for them to talk or make fun of me. And I endured that till I was 19. But I left for college at 17. College was the first time I'd ever been away from home. College was the first time I ever represented my family on my own. College was the first time I'd ever felt that I could have those kind of cravings. So what did I do when I got there and I saw all these beautiful wrestlers and football players and basketball players? What did I do? I threw myself into the religious activities and groups. I joined the choir, the gospel choir, later became its director. I joined the mime team and dance team. I started a praise singing team, and I became a keynote speaker when we went places, trying to take my attention and my mind off of how beautiful all the men were. See, I didn't just have crushes on one. People don't like that about me, but I have a lot of men. I have the capacity to love a lot of men at one time. And I have, and I do. And I'll never forget not wanting to let my family down, not wanting to bring about shame to my family, but at the same time, destroying who I was in the name of religion. Second year, I was a sophomore. And I met someone. I actually met him the end of freshman year. And he was athletic. He was on the football team. He was black. He was chocolate. He was gorgeous. He was muscular. He was everything that I liked. And he had a brain and an amazing sense of humor. And I wrestled with that thing. I wrestled a lot with that thing. So I only would agree to see him in broad daylight. And I also felt more comfortable just talking to him on the phone. We both did. We would talk for hours every day, from like 7 at night, 8 at night, till 4 in the morning. He couldn't sing. I remember those days. He couldn't sing, but he felt comfortable enough with me to try. And I would sing him songs and he would sing me songs. Now, this is a straight man, straight young boy, my age, 18, 19. And I remember us singing Destiny's Child. God, it was so funny because he couldn't sing. I laugh now because I hear his laugh in my head, and he had one of the most beautiful laughs I've ever heard. I'll never forget it. Never forget it. His laugh alone was very beautiful, very schoolgirlish. But I didn't realize what was happening to me. After about 6 months, 8 months, talking to him every night, I didn't realize that I was falling in love. I didn't realize I was in love until one of my girlfriends, whom is still my girlfriend today, said to me, "I think you love this man." And she called him by his name. And for me, being a Christian, I didn't use profanity. But oh, that night, I cursed her out, called her every name in the book, and stormed away from her because she said, I think you love him. And she called him by his name. And I said, how dare you? Why would you? I'm a Christian. I can't do that. It was all of the things that I needed to hear, but I wasn't ready to be myself yet. I knew I loved him. I knew since the first year, from the time that we met. It was a very spiritual meeting. He walked past me. I felt his energy. He felt my energy. I turned around. I spun completely around. And he, also going in the other direction, had spun completely around as well. And we were looking at each other. It was very spiritual. I'd never met anybody like that in my life. And I ran. I ran. Now, I don't know how far you can run on a campus where they all live with you, but I ran for a couple of months. And then, fancy this, I was a brain. He needed a term paper written. And I made myself available and I wrote his term paper. And I was so mad because I asked him to do the bibliography and he would have gotten an A on that paper because research is what I love to do. I use it a lot in my career. I'm researching. I'm always reading. He didn't do it and we got a B. I was mad and I thought that I'd never hear from him again. I thought that I'd never see him again. That's how we met. Until that night he called me and I said, your term paper's done. Why are you calling me? Trying to be a hard ass. I was very proper, very sedity. I was always very sedity. I'm still very sedity. But why are you calling me? And he laughed at me with that laugh, and that laugh caught my attention. And he said to me, you remind me of someone I know back home. I said, cool, that's great. I got to go. He said, you're going to hang up? I said, yeah, I got to go. We're done. I was trying to get off that phone, but he convinced me to stay and talk to him. And I started to open up to him. We started to open up to each other. And I'll never forget when my birthday rolled around, he took me to see Martin Lawrence's Black Night. We had the whole theater to ourselves. And I was on my best behavior and he was on his best behavior. We were actually courting. It was lovely. It was lovely. And he loved to speak to me in public. And I wouldn't. I'd always walk by him, act like I didn't know him, pay him dust. I didn't want anybody to know because I didn't know what I knew. And the other football players would laugh at him because he would say my name, hello. And he would say my name and I'd look at him, roll my eyes and walk on. And they laughed because, I was very hard to get. It was very hard to get. Very sedity. I had many other football players trying. I even had one lie and say that he had me, but it was a lie and people figured it out because I didn't do anything with anyone on that campus. But I remember coming home for a break. It was either spring or something like that. And I kept playing Usher's You Got It Bad when that came out. And I didn't even know why I was playing it. And my aunt walked up on me. I was just listening. I wasn't singing the words, nothing. I was just listening to it over and over and over again. Music oftentimes says what we are too afraid to say, which is why I'm so glad today that I make music, because I can say all those things that I wouldn't ordinarily say to a man, like fuck me. There's a whole song about that. But yeah, music allows us to say the things that we don't want to say or are too chicken to say to the other person. We just, hey, listen to this song. And then you tell them through the song. But my aunt walked up on me and she said, who are you in love with? And I looked at her and said, I'm not in love. She said, yes, you are. You're in love. Who are you in love with? And she was nosy. So I said, nobody. She was nosy. I didn't want nobody to know because I didn't know. I didn't know. And I went back to school. We picked up talking to each other the way that we did. And I came home for yet another break. But I want to stop right there and say it was lovely. It was lovely. He treated me so kind. He never forced me to do anything. He never asked me to do anything. We were truly like schoolboys who had bonded. He was the brawn, I was the brain. And it was the perfect coalition of friendship and love at the same time. I'd never had anything like it in my life because I'd had the situation happen before in high school. But that football player didn't want people to know. So he deserted me. And I grieved and cried and mourned about it until I got to college, and he asked me, what college did you go to? And I told him, and he said, I'm going to come to your college. See, I always dealt, and this was a problem for me. I dealt with men that loved me too, but not enough. Not enough to make a change, not enough to declare it to themselves, and not enough to declare it to me. The outside world didn't matter. It didn't matter who knew. What mattered was that we knew. I was always that way. I always wished being gay wasn't a situation that everyone had to know about me. I wished it wouldn't matter. I wished it didn't matter. But when you're dealing with the Black community, it matters. It's the first thing they call out. It's the first thing they bully and ridicule you for. It's the first thing they try to change about you. So I get to college and I meet this man, and my aunt realized I was in love, and then I went back to school, and it was just so crazy because I never told him. We just continued to court, talk on the phone every night, make each other laugh, get to know each other. I remember one time he asked me, he said, I'd love for you to come home with me on a break to Florida, because that's where he lived. And I said, what? What? He said, yeah, you'd love it. You'd meet my dad, my mom. And in my head, I was self-conscious. I'm like, these people are going to know I'm gay immediately. I don't want to do that to him. I don't want to do that to me because I don't know if I'm gay yet. I still didn't know what I knew. And I'm going to fast forward because this is the Clarion story. This is what happened. A lot of people are going to watch this from school because they didn't know what happened. So I continued to court him, and he continued to court me. He took me to see the Andrew Shepard play that we put on where we talked about the gays being bullied and battered. He took me to see that. And then when he really was trying to tell me, he took me to see the Rocky Horror Show. Yeah. And I'll never forget at intermission how all the Black kids stared at us being together. They didn't say anything, but they stared at us. And I felt it. But part of me was so happy because for once I didn't have to be the one to be bullied or ostracized by myself. He stood right next to me and dared anybody to say anything. It was protection. I always liked muscular men because they could afford protection. They could protect me. Even to this day, you got to get bodyguards, The queen needs bodyguards. She'll still bash you in the head with a Naomi Campbell phone, but I digress. But I remember coming home the second year on a Christmas break and my uncle whisking me off to another Kojic revival. And what I remember is that preacher started preaching about God. And this was the thing, you see, to this day, I always loved God. I didn't realize that people loved him and still did what they wanted to do, though. I took the Bible very literally and not metaphorically like I should have. I tried to live that word, and that word almost killed me. And I'll tell you why. After that revival, I swore to my God inside of myself. I said, God, I've got to chase you more than I chase this man because I love him more than I love you. And that's not good. And I said, I've got to get rid of him. And I was standing in church when I vowed that to myself. And what I didn't realize was that I had set into motion a series of events that would bring about my demise. I came back to school. He tried to call me. He tried to talk to me when in passing, and I wouldn't talk to him. I went as far as to throw out my phone so that I couldn't hear it ring. I got rid of my phone. But what you need to understand is I was being myself before I went home. I went home to church and got further indoctrinated. And then I immediately started to reject myself. What I didn't realize was that in rejecting who I actually was, I triggered bipolar disorder in me for the first time. I triggered mania in me for the first time. And I began to get ill. People knew it on the campus. They didn't know why. But I was one of those people that smiled all the time. So it was very hard for you to tell that I was ill because I was always smiling. I was always happy. I always said hello. But I was in crisis. And no one knew for 5 months until the very end. But I'd made some decisions. I said, God, I'm not going to talk to him no more, and I'm going to seek you. Started throwing myself into prayer more, started throwing myself into Bible study and things like that more. What I didn't realize is that I'd cut a hole in my heart, the size of that man. And that without him, I didn't have me. Thus caused me to get sick because I was no longer in control of myself. I cut not only that man out of my heart, but I cut my true identity out of my heart and tried to hide behind religion. I said, you know what, God? I'm starting to realize that I'm gay and this is wrong. And you said these things come out by prayer and fasting. So I vowed a vow to God. And I began to fast. I ate a bagel once a week. I drank water every day and tea. But I literally, on that fast, was starving myself. To look at me, I had become so emaciated that my advisors started to take notice. And they said, what's going on? And I said, nothing, I'm on a fast. And they're like, why? And I said, because these things come out by fasting and praying, and there are some things I need God to take out of me. So I'm not going to stop fasting until he removes them. And I remember when one of my dear advisors said to me, you are taking the Bible too literally, sweetheart, and it's going to end up killing you. And what did I do? I sought help. I went to the psychology department, started seeing a psychologist. And she said to me, oh, what you're saying isn't wrong. I mean, that's how in theory they say it works. But what if it doesn't? What if it's not as literal as you think it to be? And you know what I said? Then we'll see. We'll see. I got so emaciated and so sick that none of the kids even recognized me anymore. I was not myself. I had begun a series of events that I was powerless to stop, all because I denied who I was to myself. I remember getting in trouble with the law, went into a store wrote a check, bad check. Wasn't thinking clearly. Wrote a bad check for some items that I needed, just didn't have the money to pay for them. And I was manic as ever. And manic kind of means out of control. There's no brakes. There's no pilot. I'm kind of flying by the seat of my pants, and I'm doing whatever emotionally impulses me and things like that. I'm not thinking. I can see, but I'm powerless to stop it. That's what mania is. It's like being on a plane and having it fly, and it takes off. Great. It climbs to 30,000 feet. Great. But then the landing gear drops off. The landing gear is supposed to tuck up into the plane so that you can land. But my landing gear dropped off into the ocean. So it meant that a crash was inevitable because I was not going to survive it. I didn't have any landing gear. So I remember getting in trouble with the law, and my family had to be called. And all this time, I didn't see the boy that I loved. And that made it worse. And I remember spending some time in jail until my family came and got me. And the jail recognized that I didn't belong in jail. They took me out of population, put me in a holding cell at the beginning of the jail, and I was on suicide watch. The school also had a hand in that. They needed me to be somewhere where I couldn't get free and kill myself. And I'm ashamed to say I was headed that way. I was on suicide watch for a reason. I was broken, sad, finding out what I was all at the same time, and felt like I had betrayed God and all, and I just wanted to die. I stayed in jail for 3 days. My grandmother came, as usual, and she brought my uncles with her. And she bailed me out. How? She paid the money that I needed. $4,000 or $5,000. I ain't never been a cheap hoe. $4,000 or $5,000. But I was 19. 18, actually, getting ready. No, I was 19. But what saved me was the clerks of the store said we knew something was wrong with him because he wrote the check, he got the items. He walked out the store, he burst into tears, and he threw all the items in the dumpster. And we watched him do it. So we went and fished out all the clothes that he had purchased. And we recovered the merchandise. So that also helped me not get that severe punishment that they were trying to throw at me because I was Black in a white town, upstate Pennsylvania. I was Black in a terribly white town. In fact, what I realized was when I saw the jail and I was in the holding cell, most of the young men that were Black, they were Black from my college, my university. Yeah. We had thought that they had went home for the semester and just never returned. No, they had gotten in trouble in this small racist town and they were serving time in jail. So go figure. I found out what happened to all the boys that we thought left. They went to jail. So after the jail, I was driven back by my family. I was driven back to the university to gather my things because I had to go to the hospital. They wanted to take me to the hospital. And I remember breaking away from my family. Some people say, oh, he jumped out of a car. No, the car was stopped. It's just that when my family said, oh, we're going to your dorm, they didn't know which dorm was mine. I had them drive to his dorm. And I got out of the car and I left them hanging. That's all that was. And he wasn't there at first. But then I'd given my family the slip because I wasn't leaving without talking to him. Second time I came, he was there and he opened the door. And he let me in and he said to me, in a very sad voice, "Where have you been?" And I couldn't explain to him how sick I was. I just came there to do one thing, to declare that I had to leave. But before I left, he needed to know something. And I remember telling him, Michael, that was his name, "I love you." And I remember him saying to me, "So you're funny." Straight boys. They experiment in college, but it's just an experiment. Trust me, we never did anything. Trust me. So he said, "So you're funny." And I still didn't know what I knew. I was rejecting that term. I said, he kept saying, so tell me, are you funny?" And I said, "Listen here, all I know is that I'm funny for you. That's all I know." And he kind of calmed down. And I kind of calmed down. And we stood there. Then I made him mad because he said something to me that most people don't even realize he said to me, which kind of sparked a whole lot of things. But he looked at me and he said, "I think I got HIV." And I knew I hadn't slept with him. So I was devastated by that news. I was already in a very fragile state. And I said something to him, "When you die, I will find your child," because he had had a baby during our time. I was the first person he told, actually. He didn't even tell his parents. He told me, and I was mad because I felt like he had a baby on me because we were courting, but we were not saying what we were or that we loved each other, et cetera, et cetera. He never told me that he loved me. He told me he cared for me. But he was a straight guy, straight guy. I'm not letting him off the hook. He was definitely calling me and we were talking and we were courting, but he didn't know what he knew. He went on to marry a woman and have beautiful children and things like that, and I'm happy for him. I went on to be a superstar. So I think I got the better end of the deal anyway. But I wish him well and his family and his children and his life. But I made him mad because I said, "When you die," because he said, "I think I have HIV." I said, or AIDS. He said, "Well, when you die, I'm going to take care of your kid for you." And he got mad and he got in my face and I looked at him and I said, "Are you going to hit me?" And he didn't, because he loved me. Yeah, he loved me. And that was the last time that I looked into his eyes. My family and the police eventually caught up to me. I was taken to the hospital. And then I was taken to a neighboring town and admitted into the psych hospital for 30 days. We called it 302 here in Pennsylvania. And I cried and I wouldn't eat. And I asked for him quite often. But not only did I ask for him, I asked for the guy from high school as well. I had two major loves in my life at that time. And the hospital nurses and and the staff, they were so kind to me and they let me know, "Baby, no one's coming, no one's coming, no one's coming." And I realized that I had made myself a mess because I had not admitted to myself what I was, and that it had tremendously fractured my psyche. I realized that I had made myself sick because I was trying to be something that I was not. I was as gay as the day is long. And yet I kept trying to, forgive me, Chloe, pray it away. And it didn't work. That's when I realized I was gay. And that I was placed on this earth to entertain and to model and to do all those things, design and use my talents. I realized college wasn't the place for me. Wasn't the place for me. I was meant to be out in the world, be a thought leader and do magnanimous things. But I was still hurting. because it wasn't just that experience with a lover, two lovers that hurt me. It was the experience with my family and that church and that indoctrination. I would go on to leave that hospital and go back to my family and stop taking the medicine. I hate that about being bipolar. You know, you feel good. And I was young. I hadn't had any therapy or anything yet. I wouldn't have therapy until about 8 or 9 years later. But you take the medicine till you feel good and then you leave. And, you know, during that time I was put out anyway. I was homeless because I was gay. And the family were up in arms about me accepting myself. So needless to say, I was outdoors. But I met women and men that took me in. Never had to sleep with any of them. That's a good thing. She was a hoe when she wanted to be, not because she had to be. So I remember working like a dog, being homeless, having photo shoots, going to New York, trying to get signed by a modeling agency, all those things. And then I remember I'm getting the bright idea. And I took my happy ass to Paris, France, to pursue a fashion career. And I was doing it. I was doing it really well. But unmedicated, no therapy, the bottom soon started to fall out of that as well. And I came home in disgrace. Had a place to stay in Paris, was homeless here in America all over again. But I came home and I did it. I loved France so much that I swore I would return. I would work on my crafts until I was able to return. And that took 18 years because I had to learn myself. I had to go through the therapy. I've had 18 years of therapy. I had to learn myself. And I had to master my craft. And I also didn't want to be owned by a company. So what did I have to do? I had to figure out how to do it without being owned by a company and signing my brand and my life and my voice and my body away. And eventually I did, which is why I sit here like this, your illustrious Queen of Shade. I eventually did. Started my own company, and the rest is history. But I need you to know, I really believed what church was trying to teach me. I believed it so much that I was willing to go to my grave because I believed what they said, that I was wrong, that Jesus didn't love me, that God was going to make me burn in hell and all of those things. And it fueled my mania and my sickness for so many years until God spoke to me in Paris and said, you know, you're gay, right? In a park. And I had a fit, a freaking psychotic episode, screaming and crying. And I said to God, what am I going to do? That was 2005. And he said to me, we'll deal with it. And we've never had a conversation since. That was 2005. It is 2023. I am 40 years old, going to be 41 this year. God and I have never talked about my gayness ever again. And I've been being me this entire time. But I need you to know, what I need you to take away from this is that Jesus never asked to be worshiped. He never asked to have followers follow him and be called Christians. He never asked for any of that. He asked that we love God, that we love our neighbors as ourselves, and that we love God the Father. He always pointed us back to the Father. Jesus is important, but he did not come here to be worshiped. He came here to free us from the psychosis of thinking that we could not be directly connected to God, the source, the divine being that created all that is. Before Christianity, especially as a Black person in Africa, I would have been given spirituality, not the Bible. And it is so funny that all these years later, I am a shaman, witch doctor, oracle, seer, prophet, healer, clairvoyant, and medium. I speak to the spirit world a lot. I see angels and I see devils, demons. I can. And all of these abilities have allowed me to become this illustrious queen of shade that sits before you now and is so powerful that no one can take her down. They've tried for 18 years. But the problem is this: God picked me. My little gay ass, my little transvestite ass, what I like to call transillusion, he picked my cross-dressing ass, the misfit, the black sheep. I was so hurt when I realized church had levels to it. There were lay members, and then there were the families that preachers and evangelists and bishops and things like that. And they felt that they were above the Bible. They lived and did whatever they wanted to do, slept with the men, slept with the women, and didn't think anything of it, didn't care for their immortal souls. I realized there was a hierarchy in church, and that from the lay members, they just wanted our money and to teach us things that would keep us bound and subservient. Things like, you have to suffer with him. If you suffer with him, you'll reign with him. I later found out that the suffering was not really us suffering with God. It was the suffering that was placed upon us for being Black. We have always had to survive white people, our oppressors. And Black people told themselves, oh, if we suffer, we will reign with God. To each his own. What I have realized today is that when I deny myself, I set into motion a series of events that damn near bring about my demise. And I can no longer do that. I am a spiritual person. I am not a Christian. I don't subscribe to the Bible. It's a book. I've used it from time to time, but I have God on the inside of me. I don't need a book. I have the God of all gods living inside of me. I don't need a man-written book. God loves me, a little gay ass, a little gay cross-dressing ass. And I have been through a lot, more than most people will ever have to go through. I had my family turn their backs on me, but my grandmommy rescued me. And she was a Christian. And you know what she did? She gave me $250,000 cash. This wasn't no loan. It wasn't a promissory note from the bank. She gave me money. And I was able to do what you see and build upon her money and be able to take it to larger figures and own myself, own every part of myself, from my voice to my likeness to all of my intellectual property. I have come full circle. And you know what I take away from all of that? God chose the gay one in my family. He chose the one that was determined to be himself to the point that I said I defy God to be who I am, because I love me more than I love anybody in existence. And God said to me, now you're thinking right. Never again let someone make you feel bad about who you are, how you love, or how you live your life. I'm God and I love you. I live on the inside of you. Your following feels it. They feel it and they get full from it when you open your mouth. But let me tell you something. Baby, church ain't the answer. Church ain't the answer. They just want your money, baby. They just want to keep you in a position where they can get your money. That book is not the answer. The God of all gods living inside of you is the answer, the only answer. And when you have the impartation of that God, you don't need a book, because what comes out of your mouth is the Bible, meaning a new word a new testament, a new journey. I love each and every one of you. And I shared the Clarion story with you because that was the college I went to, Clarion. I shared my Clarion story with you because it mattered. I am vehemently against religion, vehemently. But let me let you know something about that young man that I spoke of. In 2008, I spoke to him. He had just gotten married. And he told me that he did feel something for me. He didn't know what it was, but he felt what he felt for me. And me being a romantic, I knew, boy, you love me, but you just don't want to admit it. Whatever. But he said he met his wife. And he said that his wife made him feel like I made him feel. He could talk to her the way he talked to me. And I was like, hey, that's fine. Go ahead. Because I want you to understand something. I wasn't created to live a normal life. Is anything about this normal? No. But I'm famous for it, wealthy for it, beloved for it. And I always will be. And yes, I have let go of traditional love. I love all kinds of Black and Latin men. I've loved them all. I still love those two men, the one in high school and the one in college. But guess what? I have so many now. But who do I love the most? Me. And I'll tell you why I love me so much. Because I know that I have the God of all gods living inside of me. I love the vessel. I love the vessel. How do you like it? This church is beautiful. The steeple is amazing, honey. How do you like the steeple? I have the embodiment of God inside of me. And you know, it allows me to do all of these wonderful exploits, all the songs that I've written. Thank you, Uncle Sidney. He's dead. But as a medium, I'm able to channel him, and he writes my music for me and tells me, sing this, do this harmony, do this, do that. My ancestors are looking out for me. But I need you to know, trouble comes when you ignore who you are. In church and indoctrination of any kind, it ain't it. Love God. Ask God into your heart, and he will guide you. Not the books, not the evangelist, not the pastor, bishop. This is no. You see, that's a construct. They need you there to get your money. Church is a business. And you may subscribe to that business, but baby, I don't. And last time I checked, I'm fabulous over here. And I have an entire discipleship following me because I speak the truth, and a lie have I not told. I love each and every one of you. And I hope that you understand that I needed to get this out of me. This was my journey, and I finally needed to talk about it so that I could get on with it, because it still hurts. It hurts like it hurt yesterday, like it was done yesterday. But guess what? I'm so much better now. Wouldn't you agree? I'm so much better now, being what God created me to be. This beautiful shaman that has the two-spirited situation going on so beautifully. My masculinity and my femininity are in perfect balance inside of me, which means God is both masculine and God is both feminine. And I am whole, missing, wanting, needing nothing. And guess what? I'm going to continue to live my gay lifestyle. Oh, yes, sweetheart, there will be many lovers. I just want you to know that. There will be. There's no sense for me to stay a virgin and pure. I'm going to have a lot of fun. And there are people that don't want me to do that. But guess what? I earned it. I earned all my fun, and I'm going to have it. Now, I've been celibate for 10 years because I had to build this illustrious brand that God gave me on the inside. My insides needed to be reflected on the outside, and I've done that. And more is coming to me that I can't tell you about, but sooner or later, you're going to have to check your local listing. I've got some things in the works. But I need you to understand, the Bible didn't work for me. Fasting didn't work for me. Praying traditionally didn't work for me. I channel. As an oracle, I channel. And it's not hard to channel because God lives on the inside of me. I don't go anywhere else and look for him anywhere else in other people. I trust the God in me. So you may not agree, but you can't whoop my ass either, because God picked me. I don't know what you're doing in your life, but God picked me to be who I am. And he knew all of this would be exactly what it is. So he was fine with it. And guess who else is fine with it? Me. So you can't use it to bully me, because I love and happen to love the way that I look. So until next time, remember this as a takeaway. You need God inside of you. And that's all you need. The living God. And I want to let you know something. Christianity ain't it. There are many, many ways to reach God. Let me tell you something that God told me. He said, I'm going to raise me a people from all denominations. I'm going to pull them from the temples of Shanghai. I'm going to pull them from their knees at Mecca. I'm going to pull them from their synagogues. And yes, I'm going to pull them from their churches. And I'm going to embody them and give them power and make my own people out of what has already been made. God continues to do that. He did it with Adam and Eve. They weren't the first people on the planet. They were in a garden eastward in Eden. And when they messed up and were put out, where'd Cain get his wife? Okay, come for me if you want to. Cain killed Abel, but Cain married. Where'd Cain get his wife if Adam and Eve were the first? So much that you people don't understand. But anyway, thank you for listening to my story. I needed to get it out of me once and for all. I needed to tell it. And I told it on my platform because no one can talk for me better than I can. I didn't sell it to anybody. The story was told to you by me, and it needed to be told to you by me. I love all of you. And this is my Clarion story. And Clarion means loud and clear. That's what it means. But this is my story. Until next time, I love you. So did you enjoy? I hope you did. Please like, comment, subscribe, share, and don't forget to cash at me at the Queen of Shade. I am your favorite content creator, right? Right. You want to see more of this content, right? Right. Cash at me. I love you. Mwah. Salutations, it's the Queen of Shade here. I need a huge favor from you. I need you right now to follow me on Instagram and on TikTok. My Instagram is I am the Queen of Shade, and my TikTok is I am the Queen of Shade. And I also need you to subscribe right now to my YouTube channel, which is the Queen of Shade. Now, I know that I always say that, but maybe you guys don't hear me. I need you guys to show up for me in full force the way that I show up for you. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Please follow me on Instagram at I am the Queen of Shade. Please follow me at TikTok at I am the Queen of Shade, because I need you guys. I want to get my numbers up. Numbers aren't everything. I have a lot of people watching that aren't saying anything, but it's time for you to declare yourself to me. You love me. Declare yourself to me. You love me. Declare yourself to me. Thank you in advance, and I love you all. Mwah.
Turn that TV down.